In this video, I'm going to remind you how to multiply matrices. To multiply matrices, you multiply the elements of each row of the first matrix by the elements of each column of the second matrix, and then add the products together. But before we get started multiplying matrices, I need to bring up this note. You can't even multiply unless the number of columns of the first matrix equals the number of rows of the second matrix. This is what I mean. Hopefully you remember that the dimensions of a matrix are given by its number of rows by its number of columns. So I'm going to say that matrix A has 2 rows and 2 columns and say that its dimensions are 2 by 2. Likewise, matrix B is a 2 by 2. When I look at matrix C, I will say that it's a 3 by 2 matrix because it has 3 rows and 2 columns. But what I'm getting at right now is this feature. When I talk about whether or not I can or cannot multiply matrices, I have to look at the number of, let me give you a problem to look at. If I want to multiply matrix A times matrix B, matrix A, the number of columns of that matrix is 2, and the number of rows of the second matrix B is 2. So since there's a match, I can multiply matrix A times matrix B. But now let's look at matrix C with respect to A and B. If I wanted to multiply matrix A times matrix C, I'm going to say I cannot do it. And the reason I cannot do it is because the number of columns of the first matrix does not equal the number of rows of the second matrix. So right off the bat, I'm going to say I cannot come up with the product of A times C because my rows, the number of columns, let's say there's a dimension mismatch. I cannot multiply because the dimensions are not compatible. So let's get down to the business of multiplying. This is how you do it. I want you to multiply matrix A by matrix B. When I go to attempt it, I need to make sure that the two matrices are compatible, but I did just a minute ago. I'm trying to multiply matrix A times matrix B. Matrix A is a 2 by 2, matrix B is a 2 by 2. Because the number of columns of the first matrix is equal to the number of rows of the second matrix, I can multiply. But another important piece is that the answer that I get is going to be equal to, or let's say its dimensions are going to be equal to, the number of rows of the first matrix times the number of columns of the second matrix. So my answer is going to be a 2 by 2. So since I know my answer is going to be a 2 by 2, I'm going to draw it out, give myself kind of a little template, a space of knowing what it's going to look like. I know my answer is going to have a number there, a number there, a number here, and a number here. Now how I get those numbers, well no, that's a different story. That's where it gets a little complicated, so I need you to be patient. On the front screen, on the first page, I said something about how you were going to take each matrix, each row of the first matrix, and multiply it by each column of the second matrix, and then add the products together. So what I'm saying is row 1 of matrix A is going to get multiplied by column 1 of matrix B, and the answer is going to go in this space right here. Let me show you what I mean. Negative 3 times 6 is a negative 18, and then a 7 times a 0 is 0. I'm going to add those two together, and the first row, first column of the answer matrix is going to be negative 18 plus 0, or negative 18. So I think I'll go ahead and simplify as I go. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I'll get all my products and then add. So negative 18 is the first element of the answer. Now I'm going to take that same row of the first matrix. I'm going to take row 1 now, and I'm going to multiply it by column 2. And that's going to give me the answer that goes in this space right here. So here I go. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. 7 times 4 is 28. I'm going to be adding those two numbers together. That answer goes in this spot. So negative 3 plus 28 is a 25. Alright, I'm going to keep going, but now I've exhausted row 1 of matrix A, so I'm going to use go to row 2, and I'm going to say row 2 times column 1 is going to go in this spot right here. So 5 times 6 is 30 plus 2 times 0, which is 0. 30 plus 0 is 30. All right, one last row and column. I'm running out of colors and it's starting to get messy, but doing the best I can here. Row 2 times column 2 now is going to go in this spot. So, 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2 times 4, which is 8. So 5 plus 8 is 13. It goes in that spot. So the answer to my problem, the product of matrix A and matrix B, is this matrix here, this 2 by 2 matrix right there. Whew, I know it's a process, but you need to practice it. So let me do another example with you just to make sure you've got it. Remember, my hint is you need to be patient and try not to do it all in your head. It helps to write down and it helps to highlight or circle things like I'm doing right now. Look at this problem I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to multiply matrix C by matrix B. Now earlier in the video I told you couldn't multiply B times C because the dimensions weren't compatible. But notice what I'm asking you to do now. I'm asking you to multiply matrix C by matrix B. That's different. C by B looks like this, and the reason this is going to work is, look at the number of rows and columns for matrix C. It is a 3 by 2 matrix. Look at the rows and columns for B. It's a 2 by 2. So the reason I'm saying that we can do this is because the dimensions are compatible. The number of columns of the first matrix is equal to the number of rows of the second matrix, so that means I can do it. Moreover, my answer is going to be a 3 by 2 matrix. So I'm going to set myself up like a little mini template here so I can kind of have a plan. 3 rows, 2 columns. 3 rows and 2 columns. This is what I'm looking at for the spacing. Actually, I'm going to make my lines longer because I know I'm going to be multiplying and adding lots of numbers here. First row, second row, third row. Now you don't have to make these lines like I'm doing. I'm just doing it to help myself stay sane. My final answer is going to be a 3 by 2, so I just need to have enough space for 3 rows, 2 columns. All right, here we go. Let's take the first one. The first row times the first column, and that answer is going to go right there. Here we go. 1 times 6 is 6. 8 times 0 is 0. We add those two together. What do we get? 6. Do it again, but change rows and columns. Let's go with row 1, column 2. It goes right here. Row 1. Notice, row 1, column 2 is where I just put that yellow highlight. So I'm going to multiply 1 times 1, that's 1. I'm going to add it to 8 times 4, 32. So that is going to give me 33. Here's where I'm saying, don't do it all in your head, you guys. I know that you're smart and I know that you like to go fast, but sometimes it's not prudent to do that. So patience. Now I've got row 2 to multiply by each column, one at a time. So I'm going to go column 1. Row 2 times column 1. Row 2, column 1. Here we go. Negative 2 times 6 is a negative 12 plus 5 times 0, which is 0. So negative 12 goes in that spot. Keep moving along. Changing colors here. Row 2 times column 2. Here we go. Negative 2 times 1. I know it gets messy. That's why I'm saying you have to be patient. You have to be careful. 5 times 4. The neater you are, the easier it's going to be to keep track of what you're doing. A -2 and a 20 is a +18. And then lastly, let's go with column 3 times row 1, column 3, row 1. Here it comes. 10 times 6, you can barely see the 6 under all my highlighting. 60 plus 3 times 0, 0. 60 plus 0, 60. And then last but not least, let's go with row 3, column 2. 10 times 1 is 10. 3 times 4 is 12. 10 plus 12, 22. So the answer, or I should say the product of matrix C and matrix B is this answer right here, a 3x2 matrix. Okay, now it's your turn. You can do this. Just be patient, like I said, and take it one row, one column at a time. Here we go. Matrix B and matrix D, are they compatible? 2x2, 2x2. Yes, I can multiply. The answer is going to be a 2x2. So now that I've established that it can be done, I want you to pause the recording, go do it on your own paper, and then check your work against mine. When you press play, hopefully you've set up a 2x2 for your answer. And remember, my first matrix is me showing my work. I'm all about showing my work. Here we go. 6 and 1 times -3 and -2. Take your time. 6 times 3 is -18, plus 1 times -2, -2. This first element is a -20. Again, different row, same row, different column. Different row, I said it again, same row, different column. 6 times 7. I just lost it for a second. 6 times 7, 42, plus 1 times 5, 5. 42 plus 5, 47. Again, row 2, column 1. 0 times -3 is 0, plus 4 times -2 is -8. Y'all might think I'm silly by writing plus a -8, but it helps me keep track. You will add the products every time. 0 plus a -8 is a -8. And then last shot, last one, row 2, column 2. 0 times 7 is 0, plus 4 times 5 is 20, so that last element is 20. The answer to your product, B times D, is that matrix right there. So now you know how to multiply matrices. Good luck!